Coach, first off, take me into your background, your mindset to pursue coaching instead of your area of focus at Wisconsin, agricultural economics.
Well, I came out of school at Wisconsin, and probably if I pursued it, I would have had an opportunity to be a graduate assistant there. Decided to go back home to Pittsburgh, and it's a pretty unique story that I probably wanted to sell securities, and that was probably a big thing back then, selling stocks and trying to make money that way. And I went up to my old high school and caught a practice and saw one of the kids that was out in the field, and I thought I could help him and kind of correct him on a couple things, and he had success with it, and kind of word got put along, and I was asked, you want to do this and help these kids out? And I said, sure, and that's how I got hooked into coaching.
I think it's interesting to look at your bio and your background. Your first college stop was at Penn and the Ivy League. What were the dynamics in play there in terms of what you had to deal with day in, day out and coaching on that level?
It was different because there's no scholarships there. Obviously you have an opportunity to get put on financial aid and go to a place that maybe you don't have some of the grades that some of the other applicants have into that part of it. So that was unique. And then you're dealing with some of the most intelligent people in the country. So you always had to be on point in terms of your coaching because they could always call you out on it. So I thought that really helped me early in my career, that you had to come into a meeting and be prepared because they knew what was going on, and just to build the relationships with that, and to have the background when I was at the University of Wisconsin and to go to a place in the Ivy League. I think that gave you some credibility, and those kids were really good to me, especially when I was younger and probably wasn't as sharp as I am now.
So many different stops where you're coaching kids with so many different varieties of backgrounds. What's the consistent, though, when it comes to your approach and how you reach those different players?
Well, I think you have to spend time with people. That's the consistent. Like I always look at anything in my life, if you really care about somebody, it's hard to let that person down. But how do you get the care? How do you get the trust? You have to spend time with people. So doing things outside of the football part of it, for them to understand that you care about them as human beings first, and then the football player, to me, develops a lot faster that way. So that's the consistent. It doesn't matter where you go, University of Pennsylvania to the University of Texas, it's spending time with your players and developing that bond. So when it's very hard for them to let you down.
Punch, down, good, next up, let's go. Nice, Matt, nice, Matt. If you want to be elite, it is my job to show you how to be elite, not to talk about it.
How have you progressed as a play caller and your style of play, your approach to coaching defense throughout the course of your career?
It's really what the offenses have done. Offenses have changed, and I think at some point when you played defense in 1996 and 2005, it's completely different to what you're playing right now. Their offensive coordinators are extremely creative, especially with the amount of pace that you get from offenses. And we've changed just because of that. I think sitting back and watching people move the ball up and down the field on you and really hoping for a mistake or hoping for you to make a play instead of taking the approach of attacking them, and with the understanding that if you cause them a little bit of headaches, that there's more of a probability of them messing it up. So that's where it has changed in probably the last 5 to 7 years.
What's the specific challenge that you've noticed in terms of Big 12 offenses and the way they operate and what makes them unique?
I think it's the explosive plays that go along with the amount of plays. I think at the end of the day, when you look at league to league and you're going to play high-paced offense with a whole bunch of dynamic playmakers, that's the one thing that's very noticeable. There's the best kids in the country are coming because they want to touch the football. And when you have to defend those type of guys in space, you can give up a lot of explosive plays. So that's the noticeable thing coming to this league.
Take me into 2 games particular from a season ago at Houston and describe your approach, the game plan, and the execution, starting with Oklahoma.
They had 5 pros out there, quarterback to 2 running backs to a tight end to DD. So they had a whole bunch of guys that we had to defend.
Oh, what a shot he took. Squaring him up, man. Baxter, gang tackled, and fumble the ball. It's picked up by Houston. The Cougars get it. Mayfield lost the ball. Houston's got it. Another turnover by the Sooners.
The approach was to come in there and try to make them one-dimensional. And in my opinion, off of that game, it turned into a handful of plays that we were able to make and, force a couple turnovers that kind of changed that game.
How about Louisville?
Louisville is just trying to put pressure on the QB. That was it.
Ed Oliver in there again, and Jackson's going down. My goodness, a jailbreak, and they hit Jackson and drop him. Pressure. Jackson goes down again. 8 sacks for Houston.
It was one of those things, and I've been on the other side of it. A night game, extremely electric in that stadium, where you just kind of got on a roll a little bit, and the roll turned into some decent things happen to us. But I've been on the other end of those things too. I think it was one of those games.
So what would you say, throughout your career, it doesn't have to just be at Houston, is the most satisfying defensive performance that you've been involved with?
I don't know. I think it's unfair to put something that way. I feel like we have a responsibility to play great defense every week. And obviously, it's almost like being a pitcher in baseball. You want to throw a no-hitter every game, but the reality is it's pretty hard to do.
What do you think potentially you will be able to do at the University of Texas with some of the skill sets that you may be able to tap into eventually that you have not been able to do at other stops?
Well, I think there's some similarities to the University of Houston. It's all relative, but the type of athlete is a little bit different. Everybody has a clean slate, and what you do and how you perform day in and day out. We just actually got done talking about it. It's not about forecasting. It's not about what he's done in the past. It's what he's doing right now. So what we're doing was constantly evaluating these guys through winter workouts and saying, I think he can do this. And then as we go into spring football, I think we'll have a more definitive answer of whether or not we're on the right course. And that to me is the kind of the exciting part of going into a brand new place and trying to figure out what you have.
Is there a player that intrigued you on tape that has lived up to that positive intrigue from what you've seen in person, the way they go about their work so far?
PJ Locke has been one of those guys that, from watching him on film and watching him play, far from the finished product, and he knows that, and we've talked about it, but, you watch him and then you watch him out there and you watch him compete in winter workouts, and you say to yourself, there's a reason why this guy had some success on film last year. And I like the kid because nobody's perfect, but he brings juice and he brings energy and he competes his tail off, and that's all we can ask for.
I imagine you've got some bark to you. What's the best way to get on your bad side?
It would probably be if you're lazy, if you're a lazy guy, and I'm not talking about, just if it's maliciously bad, that part of it would be on my bad side. Like I've said this beforehand, how much do you care? How hard do you go? How tough are you? Those 3 things. If they're really, really deficient. Now, we don't expect everybody, we've been here for a couple weeks and we've been working out and trying to train those things. But if you show us that you don't care, then we have, me personally, and I know everybody on this staff, including Coach Herman, would have a major issue with you.
Finally, what is the most important thing that has to develop in the upcoming spring season?
Well, I think it's just the part about bonding together. I think to me is, playing the game is one thing, but having a purpose of playing the game is another thing. And I want our kids to look at each other and say, I'm not going to let you down. Coach, I'm not going to let you down. And when you have a higher purpose outside of yourself, that's when things special happen. And that's what we're trying to develop right now.